Good Saturday morning, everybody. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Look, I'm ready for the gym. I've got my weight vest on. I've got my heart rate monitor on. I have my hair tie here somewhere so that I can tie my hair back. And we are ready to dive into why Earth is a gym and not a spa, and how we are being um, deceived into easiness in our life. So this morning, I am so excited that you chose to make the wise decision of spending a few minutes here this morning working on you, because you could be anywhere right now and you chose to be right here. That shows a level of smarts with you. I am so glad that you guys are here. Woohoo, right, Shauna? Thanks for being a ray of sunshine. I love it. So glad you guys are here. So we got to talk about this subject because our world is heavy right now. Especially with I want to talk about some hard things for us to digest and some things that need to be interrupted in our lives. So I am here to cause a change in you today. So if you don't think about things even a little bit different by the end of this hour, or if you don't have a little bit of an idea of what you can do different in your life, then I haven't done my job. So my purpose here this morning is to cause a little bit of change in you. Now, of course, you can fight against that if you want to. You can stay in your familiar, comfortable, and you can stay in the status quo. That is absolutely your choice. And I will not take that from you. But this morning, I intend to present to you an opportunity to look at things differently, to be able to see things differently, to be able to take what is already happening in your life and experience it in a different way, because we may have these ideas that we think we have things figured out, and until we're willing to look at them a different way, we will continue to have certain problems. My son and I were just talking about this a few minutes ago as he was getting ready to go out the door to work. We have on our counter in the kitchen. I made some soup yesterday in one of those little pressure cooker things that has a lid and that will keep things warm. And next to that pressure cooker, we have one of those little spoon holders where you can use the spoon in the serving spoon in the pot and serve things into your bowl, and then you put the spoon on the spoon holder so that the next person can use it. And I came in and somebody had, because at my house we've got people that are all hours of the day and night going different places right now. And somebody had used the spoon to get some soup last night, and then they had left it on the spoon holder. And I picked that up and I said, you know what? It occurred to me just yesterday that if I am the last person to use the spoon, if I just rinse it off in the sink before I put it on the spoon holder, then it actually is a better experience because it doesn't let it get gross. And my son looked at me and he goes, why have I never thought of that? Why did that never occur to me? And I'm like, I know, right? It didn't occur to me till yesterday. And maybe all you guys knew that. That's rinse your ladle off before you put it on the spoon holder if you were going to be the last one to use it for a little while. It never occurred to me. It never had occurred to my son. And now our life is a little bit better because we upgraded a perspective. Humans are idea machines, you guys. Humans are meant to have lots and lots of ideas. We're different than the animal kingdom this way. In the animal kingdom, if an animal starts doing something different, it goes into the news. It's so mind-blowing because, for example, I just looked it up. I just Googled what are some examples of stories of animals learning something new. And there were all of these different news posts of animals learning how to do something new. Um, like chimpanzees learning to open palm nuts with stones, or cockatoos learning to use a drinking fountain in Australia, or Japanese macaques, I don't know how to say that one, learning to wash their potatoes in the ocean before eating them, that they'll rinse the sand off of them. So we're so intrigued when the animal kingdom learns something new, that they do something different, that it goes in the news. But not humans. We learn something new all day long. We are idea generators. We are meant to try things differently. And so, if you're willing to try things differently, it upgrades your experience in this life because we're here to get stronger as we try new things. So today, that's my intention. And there may be some things that you want to write down, and I'll try and point them out to you. But I would suggest that you be willing to catch the things that you're willing to put into practice in your life, because this world is trying to divide you. There is social engineering that is going on this planet. And this social engineering is purposefully trying to divide us and fragment us. As human beings, we have the choice. We have the ability. I'm going to teach you this today, this morning. We have the ability to work on an external reality or an internal reality. And there is a war right now. There is a war for your soul. And this is what we're going to cover today. Okay. I want you to understand what the social engineering is that's going on out in the world. I want you to understand how to be able to tip from a space of having an external reality, which causes you pain and makes you feel like you have to force people to be different, to an internal reality where you have more freedom. This is what I want for you. So I'm going to show you right now everything I'm going to cover, and then you choose whether you're going to stay here and listen or not. Because in our world, we are being groomed for sadness, for God, what's the word? It just escaped me. For divisiveness. We are being groomed. I have a whole list of them I wrote right here. We are being groomed to be deceived, controlled, isolated, corrupted, enslaved, to want surveillance, division, manipulation, and to be destroyed. That's what you are being groomed for. That's what is at stake in our world. So this is what I want to show you, how this is happening and what you can do about it. So in the chat, tell me, are you in? Is this something you want to spend an hour learning today? Because if not, it's not for everyone. I am not offended if you choose and go, you know what? That's not what I'm here for. And you can move on and you can spend this hour somewhere else. But this morning, I intend to help us lift some of the weights of life that are going to make us stronger, that are going to make you better able to handle the chaos in this world. Because we are in a period of history that is rather unique. Because in most of history, there's been a lot of violence in our world. Even like my parents were born in the decade after World War II, but they were raised in an environment that still remembered the violence of that war. And then they went through the Vietnam War, and so they were used to violence. For me, I haven't been raised in violence. Sure, there's been wars around the planet, but it's been new in the last decade or so, the uptake of violence that is happening in our world. And that violence is not an accident, in my opinion. But the thing is that regardless of the violence that is going on around us, if we are strong people, we can handle it. What's unique about our current time in history is that we have raised the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas are some of the most fragile people that have been raised on this planet. Because you've heard me talk about this before, that we had and by we, I mean people that are in their I would say in their 60s, their 50s, their 40s. These were the first people in history that were able to raise their children and give them what they wish they would have had. Where most times in history, parents raise their kids wishing they could give their kids what they wish they would have had, but they couldn't. This is why in this world we have more 30 somethings living in their parents' basement than ever. This is why there's such a huge upswing of depression and anxiety. And also why there's an upswing of violence, not just physical violence, but emotional violence on the internet, canceling people, feeling like it's okay to poke and lash out at people if you don't agree with them. So there's that I just want to nod quickly at the chaos of our world, and that you that we as a whole are being socially engineered to be weaker and less capable of handling what's going on in our world. And we need to be stronger. We cannot withstand the buffetings that are happening in our world if we don't stand up and improve our internal reality. That's what I'm going to show you. That's what I want to talk about. And so if your purpose is you want to improve the things that are around you, you can't do that if you can't improve what's inside of you first. Bethany said it well here at the beginning. She said, a blessed life is not a problem-free life. To me, a blessed life is one that understands God is humanity's creator while also understanding we have the ultimate enemy, Satan. We do have the ultimate enemy, Satan, and unfortunately, he's getting really good at pulling people onto his side. And so I don't want to mince words today. So if this is not a message you want, that is fine. But today I'm going to present this to you in a way that you probably haven't heard before. I'm going to cause you to think about things in a way that is new so that you can have an improvement in your life. A spa would be more of a place where you get to maintain or be, uh, shall we say, coddled into a way of being willing to have the default that you've always had. A gym is a place where we get stronger, and by getting stronger, we have more capabilities. And one of the ways we need to be stronger is in our perspectives. All right, so if you're ready to jump in, raise your hand for me so I know that we understand where the buttons are and we are ready to go. So raise your hand for me if you are ready to jump into this. Awesome. Let me find there we go. All right, so our ways of interacting today are by raising your hand or putting notes into the chat. In the chat, you can put a note that goes to everyone, or you are also able to put a note that goes just to me and our host, which is Adam. We're grateful for the wonderful Adam in the background because he keeps everything on track. So just a quick round of applause for Adam. Thank you for being here this morning. And thank you for making your life a way that you could take out this hour this morning to improve you. Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Adam. All right. So let's talk about nervous system engineering. Our nervous system can be influenced. Our nervous system is what the internet is. So let's just think about what's different in our world than what we had even 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, we were still barely out of the dial-up internet phase. Okay, so there's a lot of us that can still remember the sound of dial-up internet. And the internet over the last 20 years has become very sophisticated. And there are a lot of algorithms that are running on the internet that have been created by people who want to deceive us. Now, we must understand right here at the beginning that tools that are used to deceive us are the same tools that can be used to build us. So the tools on the internet that are being used against us could be used for us, but they can be used against us. They can be used either way. So this is what I call, that's why I call it nervous system engineering. What we are interacting with online is causing our nervous system to feel a certain way. And so we need to interrupt a script that's going on. So the internet causes us to think a certain way. It causes us to think a certain way about what's out there, our external reality, and also to think a certain way about what's inside of me, my internal reality. Okay? So I call this a script. We end up thinking the same things over and over and over again, and that's a script. So looping ideas are scripts that are being used against us. Now, you may have seen on the internet looping ideas that come back around. There's all kinds of them. And it's not the purpose of this webinar for me to go into all the different kinds of scripts. But if you can notice that a lot of them are trying to get you to believe certain things or to um, think or judge other people. And so a good example of this is that the same when an event happens, depending on what media source you go to, you're going to get a positive, or do I want to say positive? You're going to get a twist on the events that happened. So, for example, when there's a murder like happened this week, if you go to some sources of media, they actually praise what happened. And then there are other sources of media that condemn what happened. And it becomes what I call uh, it's like truth gets, how did I say this? It's, I wrote it down in my notes here. It's like a placebo for truth. That's the word I was looking for. It's like a placebo. We don't know what the truth is because we can turn to this channel and we get given these informations and these details, and we turn to another channel and we get this information and these details. And so it's like a placebo. We don't actually know what truth is in this context because we are being groomed to be deceived, to be able to be divided, to be separated, and I'm going to call this fragmented. We are being fragmented. And when we're fragmented, when we don't have a wholeness, we don't have a foundation for who we are. So we need to interrupt a script. So to do this, I'm going to start with a question for you. And the question is, I want you to think of a time, I want you to think of something that you carry around that you feel bad about. Is something that you feel guilty about or ashamed of? That you're sad that you did, or that a result that you caused, something that weighs on you. I want you to think about that, okay? And really feel it for a minute. Feel the pain of that. So one for me that I feel bad about is that when my kids were younger, I didn't know what I know now. I didn't understand I didn't have the perspectives that I have now. And so for me, my husband and I were talking about this. My husband had always wanted um, he'd always wished that he would have been taught certain things when he was a kid. He wished that he would have been given more opportunities. And so, in our naive kind of a way, we tried to give opportunities to our kids that backfired, and it caused them pain in their lives. Now, our intention was not bad, but I still carry that around. I feel bad that my kids didn't get the opportunities I was trying to give them because we didn't know how to do it right. And so my kids, as now that they're in their 20 somethings, have told me, hey, this caused us trouble. And so I feel bad about that. So that's one thing for me. I have a laundry list of them that go through me, but I just want you to feel one of those. Notice how it feels in your body. When you think about that thing that you regret or that you feel guilty or ashamed about, it causes a tightening in your jaw. It might cause you to raise your shoulders just a little bit, or it might cause your ribs to come up to try to protect your innards. We have a physical response to that guilt, to that feeling ashamed. All right. So I want you to just hold that for a minute and I'm going to come back to it. Okay. Um, and so let's just look at, um, let's skip to this right here. So I have, so in our world, our social engineering is trying to cause us to feel powerless, like a victim, or to be fragile. And so if we're fragile, then we will feel like that the things that are going on, that the things that are happening in the world are happening to me. They're happening to me. And they cause us to feel afraid. The way this social system engineering is working is it's working on our need to feel safe. So humans want to feel safe. Do you guys want to feel safe? I can prove that you want to feel safe. Um, when your kids leave home and you say a prayer for them, what do you pray for? This is very common. We pray for their safety. Or is that just me? Do you guys ever pray for your kids' safety? If somebody leaves on a trip or if they leave home and go to college or they leave and they're just going to work or whatever, we often are praying for their safety. We want everyone to feel safe, right? Always, every day, all day long. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel safe. The problem is that that's being used against us. And we're being shown that safe is something that comes from outside of us, that the problem is outside of us and the safety and the solution is outside of us. In other words, I need something to change outside of me so that I am safer. And sometimes that's true, right? Like last night, my earthquake feed told me that there was a 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Russia, just the part of Russia that's just off the coast of Alaska. And so I don't know. I haven't seen the news yet to see what that caused, but there's an earthquake. And so there's if this earthquake caused destruction, then for safety, people might need things to be different around them. They might need to um, they might need to move rubble. They might need to get clean water. They might need things outside of them to be different for them to have safety. But most of the time in our modern world, our feeling of safety is not a physical one, it's an emotional one. Most of the time, we're not feeling safe emotionally rather than physically. And so on the internet, people feel like they can blast people if that their comments made them feel a certain way. So whoa, a thumbs up. Your emotions are being used against you. So let me show you what this looks like. Let's look at this right here. So I will have external circumstances, people, or events that I interact with in my world. So something happens external to me. And here, this represents my attention. Where do I put my attention? Where do I put my focus? And so I'm putting my focus right here at these external people or events. And while my focus is here, I'm having a feeling of, let's see, I need some words I can put right here. I'm having a feeling of um what shall we call it? I'm having a feeling. I'm just going to put feeling. So I have a feeling, and maybe this feeling doesn't feel good. Okay. So like this face right here, I'm not feeling good. And so my attention is on these external people, circumstances, or events. And I go, I'm feeling this and I'm seeing this. This must be causing the feeling that's inside of me. That we make a direct correlation and we go, oh, yeah, the people or events or circumstances are causing my feeling. Okay. So consider that. Think about that for a second. Do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel like, oh, the reason I feel bad is because of what that person said? What that person said caused my feeling, or what that person did caused my feeling. This happens on all the time on the internet. There's all kinds of people that get on there and they go, can you believe what this person just said to me? And it made me feel bad. And everybody in the comments are like, oh, yeah, bad person. Yeah, they shouldn't have been like that. They shouldn't have done that. And now we are reinforcing this feeling that we don't like. We're reinforcing it. And now we're looking at the reason for that feeling is something outside of me. So the solution is the thing outside of me needs to change. Okay? So this is a deep concept. So we're going to have to really think about this, really feel this, you guys. So I now think that the problem and the solution to me feeling bad are both outside of me. When the reality is there's something else going on before this pain happens. So I'm having this feeling that feels like pain, but my focus is over here. So I assume that the pain is coming from other people. All right. I'll give you a couple of examples to make this make sense. So, for example, um, one of the people I mentor, she gave me permission to share these stories. She said that when she first got married, that when she would talk to her husband, he would look around and she's like, "Ugh, I'm feeling bad right now." And she's expressing something she's feeling bad about, that she feels pain about. And as she's expressing it to her husband, he's looking around. And so as he's looking around, she's like, he doesn't care about me. He's contributing to my pain because he's not looking at me when I'm talking to him. He's not staying engaged in the conversation. And so now she came talking about a feeling she was having, and it hurt. And so now, because he isn't looking at her while he's talking, because of this feeling and this pain, she's looking for a source of her pain. This is human wiring. Okay. We want to look for a source of our pain. So now she's going to blame or want to change her husband because he's not looking at her when he's talking. Do you see that? Or somebody else that told me that they were in a classroom, and in this classroom, it was a Sunday classroom, okay? So it wasn't like a college classroom, it was a Sunday classroom. And she noticed that this teacher that she had every week, when she went to this class, when she raised her hand and he called on her, when she would start talking, he would look down at his notes instead of listening to her. And so she was like, "Ah, that doesn't feel good that he's not listening to me." Sorry, same person. And so she's remembering when her husband didn't look at her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, he isn't being respectful of me. He must be chauvinistic. He must not care about what a woman has to say." And so now she's creating a story that is giving her permission to blame and want to change the person outside of her. Are you following me on this? So the problem is not actually in these situations the external circumstance or the person or the event. The problem is actually where the attention is. Her attention was on here. She felt the pain, and so she assumed that she needed to change what was outside of her. This human tendency to do this is being used against you in a social system way. You're being taught through the algorithms on the internet, on social media, on YouTube, on TikTok, on the news media outlets. You're being taught to feel and point at the problem being something outside of you, because that will cause you to feel powerless and like a victim and fragile, like you don't have any control over it, that outside of you is the problem. Now, remember, through all of history, we've had chaos. Everyone that has lived on this planet has lived with a level of external chaos. Everyone has, not just us. We have a new kind of external chaos, but everyone has had this. And so how did the people that were the most powerful in a positive way, how did they manage the chaos? The people who have had the most positive influence on the planet were not ones who tried to blame or control, enslave, isolate, or cause bondage. They were not the ones. So, what did they do differently? Why were they followable? Why were they influential? So, people like, um, you know what, in the chat, tell me who's somebody positive from history that you can think of that had a big effect on people. I can think of some like Jesus, Mother Teresa, Gandhi. These are people that had big positive influences. Abraham Lincoln, that's a great one. Charlie Kirk, yep. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. Yes, these are great examples, you guys. Martin Luther, yes, Martin Luther King, and the original Martin Luther from the 1490s. Yep. These are people who had positive influences. Oh, it makes me cry reading all of them, right? Harriet Truman, um, all of these people who had these positive influences in our world, they did not do it because they were feeling like the problem and the solution were outside of them. You can't influence the planet without having a positive, strong internal reality. Now, what's an internal reality? An internal reality is a belief that I am okay inside of me, regardless of what's going on outside of me. As long as I believe that things outside of me have to change for me to be okay. Now, okay doesn't mean physical safety as much as it means internal safety. There are two kinds of safety, an external safety and an internal safety. Right? That's where we're headed, Thomas. You're right. He said an unconditioned person can neither be insulted or complimented. I cannot make you feel good or bad. Right? Buckminster Fuller, Alexander Hamilton, Bob Goff, George Washington. Oh, I love it. All of these people from history that you guys can think about. Well, you are someone in history right now. You are someone that has the ability to be an influence, but you have to know what's at stake. You have to know where the actual war is. So look at what's going on here. The problem is that the social engineering that's happening is trying to keep your attention on the external circumstances, the people, the events, so and to cause division through blame and control and a belief that I've got to get somebody to be different in order for me to be okay. But okayness means that it doesn't mean uh, that everything is calm, that everything is easy, that everything is non-messy, non-mistakes, non-struggle. That is not what okayness is. And so this is the part where we've got a tip from a spa to a gym. I can be okay while exercising strength, while getting stronger on my internal self. So the problem here is that my focus needs to be a little different because what's happening here is the external circumstance, people, and events, they can trigger emotions. And I now feel like because I was focused on the external circumstances and people and not paying attention as much to those emotions, I'm feeling them, but my focus isn't on them. Now I feel like I can poke at people, right? I've said this like 10 different ways now. I feel entitled. This is a weird kind of entitlement that you are being groomed for. And it's an entitlement that's causing you to believe that you have to give up your freedom in order to be okay. Because that's what our world is trying to get us to do, is to willingly give up our freedoms. Okay, so let's go back to this one right here. One of these lions has guaranteed food, shelter, and medical care. The other one has no guarantees, but it does have freedom. We are being groomed to want to voluntarily give up our freedoms. But look at this. Look at there's one, two, three parts before our feeling that we're not paying attention to. We're seeing the outside, we're feeling the pain. We're not pausing to go, well, what am I actually feeling? And where is that feeling coming from? Okay, what am I actually feeling and where is that feeling coming from? So look at this. If I can find the piece that's under there, this is the part that's actually causing me the pain, is my interpretations and the meaning about me that I'm letting those outside circumstances have. But when I can when I can see this, this is the part that's being hidden from you because your focus has been on the outside problem and the outside safety. You haven't been able to see the interpretations that are happening. So let's go back to our story. This girl that I was mentoring, she actually felt like she was being mistreated, emotionally mistreated by her husband because he wasn't listening to her. So he didn't care. And then she felt emotionally mistreated by this teacher because he must be chauvinistic. He must not care about, oh, hello. He must not care about her comments in class because he didn't listen to her. So she made a story around that instead of looking at what is her interpretation and the meaning she's letting that have. And so when she learned this, she's like, oh my goodness, wait a second. So another thing she learned um, was that when we're trying to find answers, our eyes are the librarian of information that we have inside of us. And so people, when they're trying to find an answer, not everyone will do it as demonstrably as others, but when we're trying to find answers, we need to move our eyes to find answers. When I teach body language shows, one of the things that's fun to do is that when somebody doesn't move their eyes and you ask them a question and they're like, I don't know the answer. And you're like, well, okay, now you can move your eyes. And they're like, oh, now I know the answer. Because our brain is actually wired attached to our eyes, and we need to be able to move our eyes to find answers. And so when she changed that story in her head about her husband, she realized that when he was listening and he was trying to help her solve the problem. So he was looking for answers inside of him. So she realized that the interpretation of the events was causing her the pain, not the actual event itself. The interpretation was. And so let's look at the story of the teacher. Well, when somebody else is talking in class, you as a teacher, you haven't had a chance to, you don't get to just pause in the middle of class and go shuffle through your notes, or else the whole class kind of unravels a little bit. And so when she realized that there was another interpretation she could have besides he was being chauvinistic, she was like, oh, maybe he just needed to look at his notes. Maybe he needed to have a minute and he felt confident in her responses, and so he was actually expressing confidence in her and her answer by being willing to leave the class's eye contact for a minute to look down at his notes. Well, now that changes the meaning about her. She was letting his actions mean something about her. Right? Gina says, I love looking at the most generous interpretation of what's happening. So the way I like to say this is there's two questions you can ask right here. Two questions that are very powerful. One is, what else could be true? It doesn't have to be what else is true, because very often uh, we are distracted by what we're afraid is true. So asking the question, what else could be true? And then asking the question, what am I afraid is true about me? What am I afraid is true about me? This pulls my focus back to powerful. My power is back in my court instead of being given to somebody else. So I am powerful versus powerless. I have more power on my side and I become stronger. Every time I'm willing to be in charge of how I feel about me. Listen to those words. You may want to write this down. Every time I am willing to be in charge of how I feel about me. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. Every time I am willing to be in charge of how I feel about me, instead of other people being in charge of how I feel about me, I am improving and strengthening my internal reality. Because this is what you're here for on this planet. You are here to lift the weights of struggle, lift the weights of mistakes, lift the weights of messy or taking risks, because it will help you to get stronger in your internal reality. If you feel less safe in your world, it's not because the outside world is less safe. It's because you are not being in charge of how you feel about you. If you need other people to be different, if you are, and this happens in several ways. Sometimes we are being a lifeboat and we're trying to save people. And so people that we like to save a lot are our children or our spouse or our family members or our close friends. We want to save people. We want to save them from their emotions. But the emotions, like I did a webinar last month. Raise your hand if you saw the webinar that I did on how we use guilt wrong, how we're using emotions wrong, right? Oh, good. A lot of you. Well, uh, cool. So maybe a third of you saw that webinar. So in that webinar, I talked about how we will use guilt wrong and we use our emotions wrong. We use them against ourselves instead of what they're for, which is an indicator that I need to adjust my perspective, that I need to check in with my perspective. Guilt, emotions are not meant to beat us up. They're not. Emotions are not meant to cause us pain. That is not what emotions are for. Emotions are not meant to cause us pain. None of them. There are no bad emotions. What we do with the emotions is the problem. So this is a superpower that has to be practiced. It has to be practiced. And that is, whoops, come on. There we go. And that is being able to pause and go, if something out here is hurting me, what am I letting it mean about me? If something out there is hurting me, what interpretation am I using that's causing part of that pain? Because no matter what is out there that we are thinking is making us feel bad, there is a part of it that is my responsibility. Because the difference between an internal and an external reality, if I think that most of my pain is coming from external to me, then I will be easily manipulated. I become weak. I worry about what I think others think about me, not what they actually think about me, but what I think they think about me. I will feel unsafe. I will isolate myself. I will look for echo chambers of my own, of why I think all of that is true. I will be fragmented and I will look for placebo truth and I will put myself in bondage freely. I will do all of this from a place of wanting to feel safer. But the people that have the most influence on this planet are the people who have a foundation of internal reality. This is where our foundational safety comes from, not here. It's not your world that you need different. It's your ability to be okay with you no matter what is happening external of you. So I want you to go back to thinking about that thing that you feel regretful about or guilty or ashamed of. And I want you out loud, if you're in a place that you can at all, I want you out loud to think about that thing. And I want you to say to yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you. Say that out loud. And notice how that feels in your body. Do your shoulders relax a little? Does your jaw, do you feel some emotions come up? Because in our world right now, we're actually in a period right now where things are aligned for us to let go of old ideas, to let go of, let me read it to you from my notes, to release things, ideas, and emotions that are no longer serving you, and to trust that you can create space for new things and allow clarity to arise from old confusion. And to be able, so we're in a period of history where we're being asked to exercise more trust so that I can have a greater foundation. The world wants you to trust less. The world wants you to trust less. I'm going to write that one on here. Trust less. Because we look around us and we're like, oh, there's so many things causing me danger. So like my 20-something-year-olds, I'm like, well, if you want to date, because they all want to date, one of them is dating, but the other three are not. And they all want to, but what's stopping them is the fear of the external. It's scary to take a risk. And so we're being groomed to not take uncomfortable steps because they are being misinterpreted as risky. So we feel risky. In other words, because my external reality is what has to change in order for me to feel safe, it's too risky for me to talk to girls. They could cancel me on social media. They could misinterpret me. And so I can't even talk to them. I was talking to one of my sons yesterday, and he was talking about how he has a coworker at work that he saw on campus, and he was happened to be in the registrar's office, and there was a window out to the hall, and his coworker stopped out in the hall to talk to a girl for 10 minutes. And he was just like, how did he do that? How did he do that? That he could just stop and talk to the girl for 10 minutes? Because our world wants us to feel like everything is unsafe, everything. But we're on this planet. My favorite way of looking at this is what Miss Frizzle said on the Magic School Bus. She said, it's time to take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. And that really sums up what we're supposed to do here. We're not meant to hide, to isolate, to self-protect from the external in a way that is, what were my words? I'm going to read them again. In a way that causes us to be deceived, controlled, isolated, corrupted, enslaved, willing to be surveilled, divided, manipulated, or destroyed. That's what's at stake. When we feel like we can't take chances, make mistakes, or get messy, it comes from not being able to have an internal reality that is the foundation, where we have freedom, wholeness. I talk about that what causes the fragmentation inside of us is holding on to emotions. That's what I talked about in last month's webinar. No emotions are meant to be held on to. We have this weird idea that I have a quota of how long I have to hold on to something before I can feel like I can forgive myself or ask for forgiveness. But who makes that up? It's the external social engineering that's happening. And so whoops, wrong one. I want to be able to have this internal reality where I can allow myself, and I can be allowing of myself and others to make mistakes without feeling like that defines me a certain way. Okay. I don't have to take the external personal. I would have a firm foundation, self-confidence, teamwork. This is an experience. The real thing. So if I ask you, what is a blessing? I asked people in my personal mentoring appointments yesterday, what is a blessing? And some of the answers that they gave me were, it's a gift from God that I earn. That if I do everything right, then I'll arrive at a happily ever after. That a blessing means easy, lack of problems, no struggles, soft, smooth, rich, no bad experiences, no mistakes, no messes, no risks, know all the answers, have the rewards or the prizes. But what a blessing really is the same as what joy is. A blessing is not needing the outside to be different for me to be okay and to take action. And what if a blessing is also experiences? Whoops. Blessing equals experiences. What if all of my experiences are blessings? The only way I can believe that my experiences are blessings are when I have worked on strengthening my internal reality. If you feel bad in your world, it is not because of your world out there. It's because of your world in here. And so if you have anybody, I guess I just get lots of thumbs up today. If you have anybody in your life that you are needing them to be different so that you can feel happy, so that you can feel good about you, so that you can feel okay, if you have anybody, then it is your internal reality that is not strong. It is not your external reality. And I am taking the time out to teach you this today because the world needs people with a strong internal reality. We don't have enough of them. That world is actively trying to get you to focus on your external reality, to change it, and the only way to cause change in a healthy, lasting, positive way is if you first have a strong internal reality. I was talking to a mentoring client this week that she's like, oh my gosh, I'm in these, there's this, she's a business owner and she has this group of people that are also business owners that she meets with. There's like 1,000 of them, I think, and they meet a couple of times a week. And she says that it's become like really um, the vogue thing to do, that they use lots of F-bombs and lots of swearing in their meeting. And she goes, there's a bunch of us that are like, why are they doing that? That's really offensive. Now, from what I've been telling you, that is their external reality. Now, does that mean they have to allow that to continue if that's uncomfortable? What do you think? Do they have to allow that? If they're going to work on their internal reality versus their external reality, do they have to allow them to just do swear words? What do you think? Tell me in the chat, yes or no? I'm just going to take a poll. Yes or no? Do they have to allow them or or should they change them? Should they change the external reality or should they just allow it? What is it? Allow it or change it? Okay, good. You're all thinking about it. Change it, change it. Politely request. It depends on the story. We're always allowed to ask for change. We don't have to accept it. Speak up, leave it. Okay, you see, there's lots of answers. But let me show you. The only real place to do, the only real way to cause change is to first work on your internal reality. So I first have to pause and go, what am I letting this mean about me? What am I letting it mean? Because, well, first I have to make sure that I'm not just trying to blame or change other people just to change them. Because the only way to cause lasting change is to first make sure that I am in a strong place myself. If I don't have a strong foundation, they won't hear me. They won't hear my request for change. They won't. But if I'm first in a strong internal reality, if I ask for change from this place, people will have a hard time not adjusting for me. If I poke and say, how dare you? How dare you use all these swear words when look, there's all of us that don't want those swear words. Okay. And it's not even about being polite. It's about coming from a place of internal strength. Your internal reality is where the strength is. That's why all the social media, social engineering is happening in your world, is because the adversary, like Brittany brought up at the very beginning, I think it was Brittany. Let me go back and look. Bethany, like Bethany brought up at the very beginning, there is a war out there. There is an opposition, and the opposition has many minions, and he wants us, and all of them want us to give up our safety and believe that our strength is in our ability to be loud, to be mean, to be pokey. This is why there's so much people hate being in customer service nowadays because people have learned that the way to get what they want is to be loud and mean and pokey and brrr. But that doesn't cause lasting change. That is not strength. That is weakness. That is actual real weakness. So if I can get my opponent to be weak before I even go to battle with them, I've won the war. I've won the war for their soul. If they can get you to be weak before the battle even begins, then they win your soul. And the way they're doing it is by causing you to interpret and let it mean things about you. And so she and I had this conversation that and she paused and she's like, "No, I just don't like the swear words." And then we went through it and we checked in and she's like, "Oh, this like triggers something from when I was little, or this makes me feel disrespected, and that causes me to remember this event from when I was little." And so now she realized that there were interpretations she was allowing it to make to mean about her. And when she could change these, now she was like, oh, now I realize I can talk to the mediator of that meeting from a completely different place because now she's not poking for change. Now, and we can ask politely and still be poking for change all day long. We can ask politely and still be pokey because your intentions are felt by other people. Do you hear this? Your intentions are felt by other people. And so if you don't have an internal reality, people will feel it. If you don't have an internal reality, you will be tempted to poke others into change, even politely. Right? Internal reality is where strength comes from. Power is from the inside. It is never from the outside. Never. So all of those people that you put down that you could remember that did positive things in history, they had all learned this. They had all learned how to have a powerful internal reality. And you are being thwarted. You've been put into a trance. This is the social engineering that happens right now in the world is a level of hypnosis. The when you get on YouTube Shorts, when you get on Reels, when you get on TikTok, the way the algorithm works is it puts you in a pattern that causes you to feel powerless. You'll be given you'll be given a reel to watch that is cringy, and then one that is upbeat, and then one that is really distraught or depressing, or another one, and you're put through this whole gamut of emotions because it pulls you towards weakness. It is completely crafted to pull you into weakness. Your external world is hypnotizing you into weakness. And so if you aren't on a weekly, if not a weekly, if not a daily, a weekly basis, putting yourself in a place to understand your power and your strength. And this happens, all right, I'm just gonna call it out. This happens even at church. Not that church is teaching you the wrong things, but the way humans do the teaching at church. And so the way that things are misinterpreted at church causes us to be pulled into an external reality. Because be honest here. How many of you have ever avoided somebody at church? How many of you have ever missed meetings or missed going to something because you didn't want to see somebody? Be honest here. Raise your hand. I'll raise my hand. Jeannie raised her hand. How many of you have ever avoided anything at church? Or you didn't sit by somebody, or you skipped a meeting? If we're honest, we do this all the time. Okay, so only about a third of you raised your hand. So I would argue that the rest of you have to think a little longer because we are wired to think that avoiding situations is how to handle things. But really, if you have an internal reality, you will no longer need to avoid things. You don't have to avoid it. You don't have to be afraid of the gym when you know how to be okay with you. That's the real joy, not needing the outside. Write this on your paper. You may want to write this down. Joy is not needing the outside to be different for me to be okay and take an action. Any different. I don't need it to be any different. I don't need the outside world to be different in any way. That's what you're down here to figure out is that it doesn't matter when and because I've wondered about this. I'm like, I'm having a very different experience in 2025 than I would be having if I was born in 1625 or even 1925 or 2325. I'm having a very different experience. So why is that okay? Because that's always my hypothesis for this planet. And I'm going a little over. So thank you for staying with me. My hypothesis for this planet is always God created the planet and God cares about me. So what don't I understand? If I'm not liking my situation, what don't I understand? Because too often, this is what happens. I work with people all day long that they don't have experiences today. Instead, they pull yesterday into today, trying to make sense out of yesterday. And so they're still, decades after they left home, they're still living situations in their current life, trying to make sense out of when they were a kid. We don't know how to have a strong internal reality. And 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 the world is working actively to keep me from that knowledge. And so if you don't put yourself in a place weekly, if not daily, oh, to be able to check in and find out what is my external versus internal reality balance right now? Am I having a strong internal reality? Because I realized this about myself that when I personally mentor people, I have them take the Clifton Strengths Finders test. And I recently held an all-day mentoring appointment this week on Tuesday with somebody, and we looked at her Clifton strengths over and over again. And I helped her see how her lens that she's looking at the world through is causing her a lot of the pain that she was feeling. It wasn't her circumstances, it wasn't the people in her life, it was the lens that she was looking at life through. Well, I just barely learned something about myself this week, about my lens that I look at life through. And I realized why I have certain situations that cause me pain. Because in my strengths, I have very low adaptability. Adaptability is not something that is my lens that I look at the world through. And I thought, well, and I've known this for years, and I thought, well, I don't need that adaptability because I have the ability, I have some other strengths that work for me. I just barely this week realized that the reason why I am afraid of criticism and why I am afraid of what people think about me, because notice I put that one on here, what I think others think about me. The reason I'm afraid of that is because I feel like it changes me. And I don't want change. Adaptability is a resistance. A low adaptability is a resistance to change. And I realize this about myself. And I won't go into the whole thing, but I want you to understand what it caused in me. Because I understood me better, I pulled some of my power back into me that I didn't know was leaking. I didn't know my power was leaking, you guys. Your power is leaking. And I know this about you because if my power was leaking when all I do is work on me all day long, every day for 15 years, if my power is leaking, your power is leaking. I know it is. And it is causing you levels of powerlessness, fragility, and weakness that you can't take into the future because our world needs you to be powerful and strong. And that doesn't mean pokey and jabby and fragmented and spiky all over you. You can't be like that. You have to have a level of wholeness because what's at stake is separation and isolation and putting yourself in a weak state when we need strong people. And so I don't need the outside of my world to be any different. And I pulled some of my power back into me. And so you know what's been happening? My house has been cleaner. I I tolerate clutter less. I'm kinder to people around me. I don't I don't need people, how I'm gonna say it like this. I don't need people to drive different. I have more patience with drivers, all because I closed one of the leaks to my power. So because I closed one of those leaks, my world, my external world has been different. When you can forgive yourself, I talked about this last month. When you can forgive yourself, suddenly people around you will be more forgiving, not because they decided to. Here, I'll read it out of my notes. The moment you start forgiving yourself, others will start forgiving you too, not because they decided to, but because we are wired to follow wholeness. We are wired to follow people with a strong internal reality. You might want to write that down. We are wired, it's in our physiology to follow those who have a strong internal reality. I need you to have a stronger internal reality. It is a powerful feeling. Now, does that mean I've closed all of my leaks? No, I am totally human, you guys. I'm not professing to be perfect in any way. In fact, I don't even want to be perfect. That isn't the point of this planet. That can happen sometime later. But what's going on right now is I am learning to embrace taking chances, making mistakes, and getting messy. And the more I do this, the more I'm okay with my daily experiences. I can forgive today for everything it isn't. I don't need it to be different. I don't. Sure, we love to go back in history and go, oh, if only I would have chosen this, or if only I would have taken that path. Well, you didn't, and it doesn't matter because the true blessing of this life is our experiences. God is infinitely wise, and so the blessings of life truly are our experiences. And so the problem why I'm not feeling blessed sometimes isn't because I'm not getting experiences. It's because I haven't pulled my power into my internal reality. I'm still outsourcing some of my joy, some of my happiness. And so this week, everything is changing. When I close my leaks, my external world changes. When I forgive myself, my external world forgives me. When I can be strong in my foundation, I can be an instrument for change, for positive good on this planet. So who's with me? Who wants to be a powerful change for good on this planet? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I'll raise both my hands. I want to. I want to be a powerful change on this planet. So I need you to work on your internal reality. Quit letting the world tell you that the problem is external to you and that you need to cause other people to change. You can never cause someone to change, but you can influence them and you can be an internal force for good that people can't resist. You become irresistible in positivity when you become in charge of your internal reality. So every day choose into you. Every day choose into the messy, the mistakes, and the risk. Life is a risk. 100%, it's a risk. You can't change that. It is a risk to be alive. You are so strong and so brave that you chose to take this risk. So put on your weight vest. Be willing to lift the weights of this life that give you a strong internal reality. As long as you are wanting what's outside of you to cause your strength, you will be weak. That's what it is to want life to be a spa where everything is taken care of for you. That's what a spa does. It takes care of everything for you. And can we have moments of that? Sure, because we get those. Like I was sick last month. I had a terrible infection where my ear was swollen off the side of my head. It was so bad. And you know what? During that time, everybody had to take care of everything for me. But I'm not meant to stay there. I might have moments of that. What I want to be able, it doesn't mean that we can't have help. Notice that, oh, I'm going way over. Notice that on here on our internal reality is teamwork. Sure, we need people to work with us, but I can have a strong internal reality while I have people help me. I don't need to force them to help me. So if any of this resonates with you and you want to link arms with a group of people that are working on this every single week, then I highly recommend that you join me in breakthrough coaching. And because in breakthrough coaching, every week for 2 hours on Mondays, we work together for 2 hours. So we work together for an hour and 20-ish minutes today. 2 hours on Monday. We find the pieces that are happening in the world that are trying to pull down on our internal reality, and we strengthen our internal realities. And we cheer for each other as we do it. Okay. And we record these. We record these sessions so that if you can't join live one time, you can watch the recording. Or if you work during 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Mountain Time, that you can watch the recording. But now I have set my week up ready for success, ready to own my internal reality, right? And Jeanette says, breakthrough coaching is amazing. It is. I love it. The reason I do it is because I am going to work on me. I am. And I found out that there's other people that would like to be working on them. So I'm like, well, why not share with you what I'm doing to work on me? Now, do you have to come? No, this isn't for everybody. This is only for people who are ready to be in charge of their own internal reality. Because I'll just tell you this really quick. We have thoughts we can work on, emotions, we can work on our actions, but what we need to be upgrading is our DNA, our impulses, our knee-jerk reactions. We can't just change our thoughts and have new results. We can't just work on our emotions. We have to get down to the nitty-gritty, and our world can't wait anymore. If events of this week have taught you anything, I hope it's that time is of the essence. You are needed as a powerful warrior for good on this planet. You need to win the war for your soul. And to do that, you've got to get your internal reality in order. And it doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It means you need to make more mistakes and forgive yourself faster. It means because God wants to forgive you. We usually just won't forgive ourselves. And so then he can't. We have to go first. That's what this planet is set up for, is that we go first. So come go first with me. Come go first. Normally it's 1997 to join, and to have a one-on-one appointment with me for an hour is 375. Because you were here on this webinar this morning, you have the chance to join at half of that. So the webinar special today is $997, and you will get, for the first 5 people that join, you'll get a one-on-one appointment with me. I want you to be one of the first 5. Because what will happen? I'm going to be outside eyes looking in that can show you where you're stuck, show you where the world out there has tricked you. You've been hypnotized into weakness. You have been tricked into being less than who you are supposed to be. You are being coddled into weakness, into fearing to standing up and being strong. You're afraid to lift the weights of letting go. It's actually a rep of weightlifting to forgive yourself, to let go of the problems that happen by dragging what you're ashamed of through life with you. You don't have to be perfect to be strong. In fact, you're here to learn to be strong without perfection. Okay? Oh, you guys, I love you because you want to be stronger on your internal reality. You want to be a force for good. And I need more people to be a force for good on this planet. I can't do it alone. Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and all these people couldn't do it alone. We need more people who aren't hypnotized. I want you to join the forces of internal reality. I love that. Lillian says, breakthrough coaching is incredible, so helpful. My understanding of life and how to improve myself has upgraded and had a huge positive difference in my life. Absolutely. You guys, it's not for everyone, but if you choose it and you choose in today, okay? So you go to here, you go to 3ke.to/breakthrough special. Okay. Adam put it in the chat for us and you can just click on it. If you click on that, you're going to see a lot of information about breakthrough coaching. And you're going to see that I changed the tuition to $997. And I hope you choose in. I hope you choose in because what we'll do over the next 14 weeks is we will take your internal reality from where it is today and we will shoot it up here. Will you be perfect? No. If you're trying to be perfect, don't join. What you will be is stronger in who you are. You won't need the outside world to be different for you to be okay. What you will do is you will learn how to influence your impulse level programming. This is not fluff. I am not a regular kind of coach. You can join classes all over the internet for $997. Go for it. Go do it. But you know what they won't do? They won't understand human behavior like I do. They will not. And you will get some thought work, you'll get some emotion work, maybe even some action work, but you will not get your internal reality to the level that you'll get it in breakthrough coaching. So, because of that, if you join today, I'm going to give you the guilt webinar from last month. It is not posted anywhere, but I will send you a recording of it. And I will let you bring a friend with you to breakthrough coaching. So that means that 2 of you will get to join for this half price. 2 of you, not 1 of you, but you have to register today. When you register today, that's your bonus. So how do you do it? You can go to this QR code. You can go to this right here. Whoops. Copy, paste. You can go to this link right here. You click the register button. You'll put your own name in there and you'll put your own information and you'll click sign me up. At the end of that, you'll get an email. The office will send you an email probably on Monday that will ask you who is your buddy that you're going to bring with you. All right, so you sign yourself up today and then you will get to bring a friend to the whole 14 weeks of breakthrough coaching. Usually in order to do that, you have to sign up for my personal mentoring. And if you're interested in my personal mentoring, then you can sign up for a phone. You can just message me in the chat and I will give you a link to sign up for a phone call with me and I will call you and I'll tell you all about personal mentoring. And I love this quote. I love this quote right here. This is Superman movie this year. And Superman said this when he was challenged on his humanity. He said, I get scared. I wake up every morning, and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other, and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time, but that's being human, and that's my greatest strength. Quit letting the world take away your strength. You've got to close the leaks. I closed one and holy cow, my kids are like, Mom, what's gotten into you? My son came out and he's like, Mom, what's keeping you motivated? Why do you keep doing all of this? And I'm like, let me tell you, the reason why is I improved my internal reality this week. So if you're already in my breakthrough coaching, wahoo, buckle up because I closed some leaks. So it's time to move forward faster, you guys. It's time to move forward faster. Are you ready? Those that you are already in there, tell me in the chat. Say, woohoo, buckled in, ready to go. Right? All right, awesome. Awesome. So it's time to quit giving your power away. It's time to understand in breakthrough coaching, we're going to work on our nervous system engineering, and we're also going to thwart the social system engineering that is going on in our world. So I don't want any more fragmented people because what's at stake is isolation, depression, control. These are not things that I want for anyone. I don't want you to be deceived, controlled, isolated, corrupted, enslaved, divided, manipulated, or destroyed. You're too important. You are so important that the adversary is actively working to keep you focused on your external reality. I am going to actively work to focus you on your internal reality. I love it. Thank you for being here today. Let's see. I know I have a slide. So if you are interested in personal mentoring with me, I do have 3 openings for personal mentoring right now. And I'll just make a slide. I'll make a slide. Okay, here you go. If you are interested in personal mentoring with me, then go to this link and schedule a phone call with me. And I will call you. Me, not somebody else. I'm going to call you. All right? So for personal mentoring, personal one-on-one mentoring. Because imagine if I'm checking in on you every week, what that's going to feel like. But until then, please come to Breakthrough Coaching. We are all together, linking arms and working on our internal realities. This is who I've chosen to be, you guys. Somebody asked me at the gym this week, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, let me tell you, because I am a champion of your soul. I really believe that we linked arms before we came down to this planet and we said, you know what? Let's watch out for each other. And you and I had an agreement, and I'm holding up my end of the agreement. And the agreement was that we would watch out for each other. I need you to improve your internal reality so you can help watch out for me. We need team players. We need that. And you know what? I'm working on my weaknesses. I'm working on my internal reality, and I need you to work on yours. Please promise me that whatever you do, when you leave this webinar in a few minutes, you start working on you. Don't let the external reality pull you down. Don't be hypnotized down into being coddled, being weak, and being somebody who can be driven like a sheep towards the slaughter. I don't want that for you. I am a champion for your soul. I want you to be a champion for your soul too. I love you guys. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. If you have any questions about this offer, tell me what they are. And I can't wait to see you on Monday.